So Floyd Mayweather is considering two fighters for his next fight in May. And they are Amir Khan, and I've already done a couple videos on that potential matchup. And the other fighter is Marcus Maidana. Now, as of right now, or as of the other weekend when Maidana beat Adrian Broner, a lot of people actually seem quite interested in that fight, Floyd Mayweather against Marcus Maidana. Before the Broner fight, no one cared about seeing, or no one wanted to see Maidana in there with Floyd. You know, that would definitely be seen by the majority of boxing fans as a mismatch. But now a lot of people are thinking, you know what? He managed to deal with Broner's shoulder roll, so let's see what he can do with Floyd's shoulder roll. Obviously, I mean, pretty much everyone with sense anyway, everyone with sense knew that Adrian Broner was nowhere near as good as Floyd Mayweather. He is a Mayweather imitation. He's not the real thing. I've seen a couple people online calling him Adrian Cloner, right? Which is pretty funny. So he's no Floyd. He's not as good as Floyd. He's not as accurate. He's not as rangy. His arms ain't as long. He's not as slick. He don't use his legs as well. He don't have the kind of timing that Floyd has. He's just never been as good as Floyd. And we knew that. All of us who had sense knew that way before the Maidana fight took place. But nonetheless, I still thought, based on Maidana's weaknesses that he'd shown in all types of different fights, going all the way back to the Khan and Eric Morales fights, he'd shown so many weaknesses and so many flaws. I thought that Broner would be able to exploit them. And I wasn't confident in Maidana's ability to exploit Broner's weaknesses. But boy, was I wrong about that. Maidana showed that he could easily get around that shoulder roll simply by looping his right hand over the top of the shoulder roll. And Dwyer's done a very good job at explaining how he did it in his post-fight video. I believe it was his post-fight video for Broner Maidana, or it might have been his video he did about Maidana possibly fighting Pacquiao, you know, a potential matchup with Pacquiao. One of those videos, but he explained very well how Marcus Maidana was able to combat the shoulder roll very effectively. But he also mentioned that Adrian Broner played into Marcus Maidana's hands by standing still, because Maidana's so awkward. He don't fight like an orthodox fighter. You know, he's a pressure fighter. He comes forward, but he throws punches from very unorthodox and awkward angles. And Maidana proved in the Broner fight to me that he actually has more savvy about him than I gave him credit for. He's a bit more crafty. He's definitely more crafty than I gave him credit for. So will any of that unorthodox fighting style, will that be at all effective against Floyd Mayweather? A lot of people are going back to the Castillo fight, especially the first fight, and looking at the amount of trouble Castillo was able to give Floyd. But, you know, whether you love Floyd or hate Floyd, if you go back and watch that first Castillo fight, you can certainly dispute the decision. I've got no problem with anyone saying that they thought Castillo won. But what you can't dispute is that Floyd Mayweather was injured in that fight. Yeah, he was injured. It was clear watching the fight that Floyd wasn't using his, was it his right arm that was injured? He weren't using one of his arms anyway. It was clear that he was injured. It was so obvious. So when you're going into a fight with one arm, it's definitely going to hamper you, you know? And he wasn't throwing the injured arm. It's not like Vitaly Klitschko against Chisora where people say he was injured, but yeah, he was throwing both arms throughout the fight. And his power hand is the right hand anyway. I didn't buy that injury. But with Floyd against Castillo, he was genuinely injured, and he proved that it was the injury that held back his performance by rematching Castillo and winning by a good margin in the rematch straight away. So, you know, a lot of people are drawing on that Castillo performance and saying maybe Maidana, who's bigger and stronger than Castillo, can do something similar and rough Floyd up. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I'd definitely be picking Floyd in the fight. I think he'd win quite comfortably. But again, I thought that Broner would win against Maidana quite comfortably. So what do I know? Leave your comments in the comment section below. What do you think would happen in a fight between Floyd and Maidana? Maidana's to me, Maidana's defense is so bad. I mean, even in the Broner fight, even though he won the fight very, very convincingly, he still got hit a lot, especially in the later rounds. He was getting caught with shots. And, with boxing, people talk about counter punches and this, that, and the other. One of the guys who was able to, or two of the guys who were able to catch Maidana more cleanly than anyone else, well, actually three guys, Eric Morales, Victor Ortiz, and Devon Alexander. One thing I've noticed in Maidana's career is that he has most trouble with southpaws. Yeah, even against DeMarcus Corley, a fight that he did win, he had trouble against DeMarcus Corley, and that was at a time when Maidana really was looking like a beast in just about every fight. But he had problems. He had a lot of trouble with DeMarcus Corley. Then obviously he was dropped several times by Victor Ortiz, and then he got soundly beaten by Devon Alexander. So if Maidana has one weakness, if there's one particular style that Maidana has a biggest problem with, is southpaws. Slick southpaws especially, but southpaws in general give him problems. He don't like the angles that the punches are coming from. It just don't seem to work for him. But Floyd ain't a southpaw. Floyd's obviously very slick himself. Eric Morales managed to catch Maidana with a lot of shots on the inside. And this might sound counterintuitive, but it's not. Eric Morales is a good counterpuncher. Yeah, just as Marquez is a good counterpuncher. And, there's a bunch of fighters in the game who are good counterpunchers. But in order to get full power on your punches, you need to get some type of extension on your straight punches anyway. You need to get some type of extension on your shots. If you've got long arms like Floyd, you need your opponent to get full power on the shots. You need your opponent to be a certain distance away. If you've got shorter arms, you can get power in your straight punches at a closer range, even in your hooks, So I'm not necessarily sure that because Eric Morales was able to get power in his straight shots and hurt Maidana in that fight, that it would be as easy for Floyd to do it. I'm not saying it wouldn't. Maybe Floyd might be able to control the fight from the outside and hurt Maidana that way. But on the inside, I'm not sure. I'm not sure because Floyd is most powerful. I mean, he's not a massive power puncher or anything like that, but he's most powerful and most effective with his shots when he has a bit of distance and he can get extension on that right hand. That's when he can get some nice power in it. But when he's close, he can still throw the right hand. He shortens it very well, but he don't have the same kind of power in it. And that's one thing I've been thinking about with the Floyd Pacquiao fight. People talk about, Marquez is a counter puncher. He knocked out Pacquiao. Floyd's a counter puncher. Well, it means he's going to beat Pacquiao the same way. No, I don't really think so. I think Floyd would beat Pacquiao, but I don't think it would be as easy as some people think it, some people are making out because of that reach dynamic, because of that arm length dynamic. I think Marquez has got much shorter arms than Floyd. So on the inside, he's able to meet Pacquiao in the firing range, in the danger zone, and land the shots, with good power. Whereas Floyd, he's got those long arms. So when he's got Manny on the outside, Manny's unlikely to be throwing shots. He's more likely to be, covering up and trying to find a way in with his feet. But once he gets close to Floyd, you would have to imagine Manny would have the advantage up close because he's so fast with his short arms, and his perfect punching range is inside Floyd's perfect punching range. You understand what I'm saying? So the same thing goes with Floyd fighting Maidana. Maidana's got the shorter arms and his perfect punching range is closer than Floyd's perfect punching range. But, Maidana don't really have much speed. He is very awkward though. Very, very awkward. So I think a Floyd Maidana fight I think Floyd will win it comfortably. I think he would definitely win it comfortably, but I don't know, man. It's somewhat interesting given the fact that what Maidana did against Broner with that shoulder roll. But as we all know, I mean, it's easy to sit here and say Broner's no Floyd, but what exactly does that mean? What does Floyd do better than Broner? What would if you'd put Floyd in the ring instead of Broner that night against Maidana, what would Floyd have done that Broner wasn't able to do? That's the question you have to ask yourself. So that's my thought process going into a potential fight with Floyd fighting Maidana. If Floyd was in the ring that night, what would he have done differently to Adrian Broner. I think he probably would have used his jab more. I think he would have dropped more straight right hands from the outside, having longer arms than Broner. I think he would have tried to maintain more distance from Marcus Maidana. I think he would have had more success maintaining distance. Broner really had a lot of trouble keeping Maidana off. You know, so I think Floyd would have tried to maintain better distance. You know, so anyway, these are just my ramblings and musings about this potential fight. Not really a fight I'm looking forward to that much. It's a cool fight, whatever. I prefer to see Floyd fight Keith Thurman if he's going to take on a welterweight. I think Thurman is very credible at this stage. I think that Marcus Maidana is more credible than Amir Khan, though. Even though Khan has a win over Maidana, Khan ain't even fought a welterweight yet. Yeah, he had a catchweight fight, but he ain't had any legit fights at welterweight. He ain't fought none of the welterweight contenders. Whereas Maidana actually has. He's got a win over Broner. I mean, I know these are guys moving up, but there's still guys who have fought a welterweight. He's got a win over Broner. He was in the ring with Alexander. He beat Soto Carras. You know, he's had fights at welterweight. So at this stage, and he was obviously coming off a win at least. So at this stage, Maidana's a more credible opponent than Khan. But I think Keith Thurman is more credible than Khan or Maidana. For me personally, that's how I feel. And I think it's a more competitive fight for Floyd at welterweight. But if he wants to take a fight at 154, the fight I want to see, obviously, is the Erislandy Lara fight. As I've said previously, I've never picked against Floyd in a fight, ever. Never picked against him. But if he fights Erislandy Lara for the first time ever, I'll be picking against Floyd Mayweather. I'll be taking Lara in that fight. Yeah, so anyway, long video, longer than I wanted it to be, but I hope I got all my points across in whatever jumbled fashion it came out. So yeah, drop your comments below. Let me know how you feel about everything I've discussed in this video. This is Hatman, I'm out.